My name is Heyning. I am a creator, producer, seven-time tech founder. I started out in interactive media, but for the last 15 years, I've been working in virtual worlds, mixed reality, and in virtual events, especially this year. And we have an amazing panel of creators, directors, producers, curators of other virtual events and extended reality experiences. And some of these are quite groundbreaking. Each of these creators is doing some very experimental work, whether it's in XR, VR, AR, or in some cases blending those with the physical environment. So I'm going to give each of our co-panelists here a few moments to introduce themselves, starting with Aleissia. Aleissia Laidacker, could you please tell us a little bit about your work?
Hi, yeah, sure. By the way, thanks everybody for coming and thank you for having me on this panel. I'm excited to be here. So my name's Aleissia. I am a creative technology director. Originally, my background is in traditional video game development. I was at Ubisoft for about 11 years, where I led the tech direction and the programming team on the Assassin's Creed franchise for many, many years. About 4 years ago, I had joined Magic Leap. And when I first joined, I was leading a team of engineers, designers, technical artists. Our role was really to do a lot of tinkering and prototyping to see what we could build in the world of augmented reality and helping to inform the software and product teams about what developers would actually need to build content in this new world of AR. Since Magic Leap, I've joined kind of the world of freelance consulting. A few months ago, I joined the group of Spatial Activations led by Vince from Meow Wolf. It's a creative agency focused on bringing art, experiences, technology to physical spaces. We're really excited about once we can all get back to the real world and get to experience things in physical locations, and really get to do some awesome experiences that blend together art experiences and technology. And also, as of last week, I have joined the Mill, now leading their creative technology group across the Mill experiences teams. So that's me.
Thanks so much. And Cheryl, could you tell us a little bit more about yourself?
I started my career in traditional television with success at ABC, having done Roseanne, Home Improvement, My So-Called Life. Then I was a packaging agent at CAA, where I internally developed Freaks and Geeks and Sex and the City. And then I was head of comedy at Fox, where I did The Simpsons, Family Guy, Malcolm in the Middle, that 70s show, Dave Chappelle's first show. And what I loved about in all of my experiences, and then I launched ESPN's women's brand. I always loved the challenge of telling character-based stories using different ways of storytelling, breaking the mold of technology, whether it was using animation in it, prime time, whether it was single camera comedy, no laugh track, whether it was 360 camera work, that the natural fit after I left was to create programming that was really unique and groundbreaking for in education. So now, and so won a bunch of awards doing that, having been an entrepreneur at a business I created called Creative Space, and now Living Popups uses augmented reality and AI and other mixed reality as far as integrating with an audience, creating compelling content, and we are now doing we've set up series on different streaming services that are using our technology, and I love what we're doing in education with books, the required readers from Animal Farm, Of Mice and Men, Romeo and Juliet, Hamlet, all the classics. So, and how we engage students and keep them involved by having our 3D characters come to life in the books. Thank you.
This is Such an exciting time to be a storyteller, isn't it? I am so excited to learn more from you, Cheryl. And Tricia, T-Boz down there, could you tell us a little bit more about your work in hybrid and extended reality?
Sure. Hi, everybody. I'm Tricia with Fresh Wata. I'm the co-founder of Fresh Wata. We produce experiences globally, physical experiences. We're a group of artists, technologists, producer. We work with a lot of agencies and brands to create exhibit booths. I've been working CES events for years. I live here in Las Vegas. This is our headquarters, but we do produce events nationwide. And just always loved technology and trying to, I did a hologram back when it was called CTIA and augmented reality and Mobile World Congress. We used the HoloLens for Sprint. And we like to build physical too. So we have a carpentry shop and we like to build our own booths and sculptures and video mapping. And we have a paint booth right behind Mandalay Bay. And our team of designers just love to produce in the physical world. But yeah, we got hit with COVID. And so luckily, we were able to, with all the passion for technology, dive into virtual events and see, this is just amazing. I'm excited to do more events here. And yeah, hybrid, I think, will be the future, seeing all the data and success that people have been having with virtual events, saving money, the sustainability aspects of all these virtual events has been pretty awesome. And the attendance has been so awesome. So also, yeah, we want to bring people together live, right? So physical events, smaller groups, but then let people tap in virtually as well. We all love to share a meal together in person. So yeah, we'll talk to you later at the networking and the concert too.
That's right. And I just wanted to thank you so much and the Freshwater team all around. I remember when Dreamland was at Freshwater a few years ago. So thank you
That's
for
right.
Being there for us and for our community for years now. You've really given us a lot. And thank you.
Never would have thought.
Yeah, right? That we're now here
not
all
be
virtual
doing,
2 years later.
Yeah, this is
Holliday,
very surreal.
You are an amazing creator and curator and artist.
Thank you.
Could you tell us just a little bit about what you've been up to?
So I've been trying to think about a label. What would I actually call myself? I would call myself an experiential artist. I like to create art where people actually feel immersed into the image, or it's mostly augmented reality, so that you feel like you're floating or you're flying or you actually physically feel something with the art piece. I've been making art my entire life. I go back to my earliest memories, which are dreams, where I would actually feel as I would fall asleep like I was liquid or I was cake batter and I'd be poured. And so as a child, I was like, someday I have to have this technology to be able to create this crazy, visual imagery. But the most impactful dream I ever had was when I was 14. I dreamt that I was in a giant stadium, kind of like this, which is kind of crazy, although it was huge. It was on a grand scale. And I was pulling from the heavens this visual imagery, like animation, and I was throwing it at the audience. And I could see everybody in the audience, their eyes, everything, they were just lighting up and they were experiencing it on this grand scale. And I had these controllers on my hands. And I was an old, little gray-haired old lady. And I thought, that's my future, and I'm going to have to do everything I can to get to that future. So I went to school for traditional animation. That's where I decided to start, because when I was in school for traditional animation, there wasn't computer animation. So I used to walk by the San Diego Supercomputer Center, which was on campus at UCSD. And I would say to myself, they have the computers. I've just got to get my way in there somehow. I walked in, I showed them a traditional animation demo reel. They were really excited, and they said, hey, we just got this new computer here, and it's supposed to be for artists. And it was the very first Silicon Graphics workstation. And this is 1987, and it was the very first seed of Maya. It was called Alias back then, and the whole system was worth $1 million. And they said, here's a key card. You have 24-hour access to learn the system. And within a few months, I had it down. Wow. I was then animating for NASA and JPL through the San Diego Supercomputer Center. And of course, there was a Cray there, so I would render on the Cray, which is a giant supercomputer center or supercomputer. And then I decided to bring that technology to artists. So I asked UCSD Extension if I could teach through there. And I taught the very first computer animation course. I'm pretty sure it's first, but 3D. And then a couple years later, Sony came to town and they were looking for 3D artists to create this new geometry for the so-called PlayStation. And they needed a trainer to train all their artists. So I went over there and I trained 35 artists. And next thing you know, I made 10 AAA games, 10 years later. And then decided to make a company with a few friends, and we created it with a goal to, basically just hire a bunch of people and inspire people. And a couple years later, Sony bought it. I was able to stay home for 14 years. I'm talking really fast because it's 30 years, people. 30 years over there. And so I raised my 2 girls, but during all that time, I was heavily involved with stereoscopic imaging and teaching 3D and teaching visual effects and getting everywhere I could to create that imagery that I've always dreamt about. And then a few years ago, I put on the Oculus Rift and I said, that's it. All the stereo that I had been doing, with 3D, it's time to get into VR. So I've been just playing around, having a good time and doing AR and AR art shows. And it's just that dream, getting to that dream. My hair is gray.
I just want to honor that, as this audience can tell, there's about a century of experience on this stage from the interactive and immersive world. So we are definitely going to take your questions. We're going to leave some time for that too. But I do have a few questions that I want to ask all of you. And Holliday, you said something very interesting that reminded me that so much of what we do in the experiential world, whether it's digital immersive or hybrid immersive, is experimental. And so Aleissia, Holliday, all of you who are creating, how do you create experiments and how do you know if they're working?
Well, for me, when I'm creating, I'm constantly on a daily basis trying to move forward. If I spend too much time in the same spot, I feel like I'm just sweeping. And sweeping is fine, if you just want to sweep during the day. And I'm talking about just painting in VR or something. It's very calming. But I like to play with tools and lots of different tools. I love After Effects. I love all the different apps. I love working in Unity and all the different 3D things. And it's just a matter of taking your images to the next level. Like designing in AR has levels, whether it be 3D or layered 2D video. And then how do you do that? That's a whole new design skill that people are coming up with. And then, of course, crypto art. That's actually extended reality as well, because people are selling experiences within their VR, selling layers. People can own a specific layer of your crypto art. So that is an emerging technology as well. It's just when you say extended reality, it's extended, right?
It is very extended. Who else wants to speak to experimentation and how you approach it?
Yeah, I think Holliday said this in part, but really trying to do something where you can fail fast, almostly, like try and force yourself to fail and be like, okay, I've got into this kind of extreme of trying this out. Let's move on to something else. And I think right now what's really exciting on the XR side is a lot of us have this background from experimenting a lot on the digital, but now as we're starting to see how do we bring that to the physical, from can this interact with Arduinos? Can this interact with like my smart fridge or my Alexa? Like there's so many new opportunities, lots of new tools, SDKs and APIs that are coming out continuously now, where people want to see how we can bring the digital to the physical worlds. There's lots of real cool opportunities to collaborate on that side with different types of experts and artists.
Absolutely. And I want to take that piece of our experimentation and extensibility, right? So looking at how stories then connect to physical places or to physical objects. Cheryl, your work has been really interesting in this space as well, and looking at how streaming could perhaps be connected to a storybook and augmented reality and other elements. How are you bridging some of these story gaps and maybe bringing these elements together in new ways?
To me, everybody is related to anything they've ever watched by the characters that they attach to. So by creating a world that has relatable characters or complicated characters that you can interact with whether it's in your bathroom, whether it's in walking down the street, you feel like you're not alone. And I think what's so fun in using these tools of technology and the different SDKs and APIs that you can use are how you organically create stories that make people feel like you know me. And I think that it's about creating the compelling content that then uses the tools of technology to keep somebody engaged, gather the data that you can, organically navigate through the world with them is so fun. And to me, I love that you're using the words fail, but I would say even more so, yes, and you're in a, life is a maze. We're all in control of our own toggle switch. So like how we like navigate, I mean, isn't it Pac-Man always? So, like, so how we navigate that maze is just how do we create more fun around that and make life more inclusive. And, you know, I love that this world, we're on a stage of all women. I think that's dope.
Yes.
And we're all leaders in this world because we lean in and we're not afraid to take chances, not that men don't. Because I'm complimented by my co-founder who comes from visual effects, who I call one of the original hackers. He was one of the first guys to use AR in a movie, and he was one of the first guys to invent certain technologies that people use as terminology, whether it was morphing or whatnot. But I feel like it just, you know, it's about creating value and purpose to using these tools, and the content helps that. And everyone on this stage is a unique voice here.
Absolutely. And you bring up some interesting points about sometimes needing to partner with other pioneers who are building the tools that maybe you need in your toolkit in order to build the experience you're envisioning. Because we're all kind of kludging together these solutions. For those of you who haven't produced across the metaverse in multiple worlds, these workflows get very complex. And they become very interesting if you think about multicasting across multiple virtual worlds, which we've been doing. By the way, we did this in 2009 with the State Department. It's not new. It is becoming more and more intricate. The types of interactions we're designing for are becoming more and more intricate. And sometimes we don't necessarily have the tool we want immediately, but that's why we're here to hack on those solutions. I'm curious for you, Tricia, for Aleissia, anyone who's working in hybrid virtual events, how are you working with the complexities of so many people coming in from so many different types of interfaces, or maybe, you know, trying to figure out how to bring people together from many different worlds and environments?
Well, when COVID hit, we started doing drive-ins. So I think we were the world's first drive-in dinner theater. In my parking lot, barely could fit any cars, 60 people. It was live singing, dancing, food. And we just started doing it. We streamed it. We threw it up there. Not many people logged in, but living in Las Vegas, there's so much talent here. And, you know, we were shut down, so we kept everybody safe in the cars. And then streamed that. So yeah, I guess we're just figuring it out, you know. And then all this technology, like for all the hotels created by NASA that kills the pathogens that you can put in the rooms. And like I have an event space and a venue in Vegas, so I can start buying this equipment where we can, you know, be safe and temperature check. And so obviously we want to bring people together, right? And do everything that we can to keep everybody safe and intimate and have a great time together, but then extend it out to the world and let whoever wants to log in. So whether that means cameras, and we're building a trade show booth in the virtual world, awesome booth, but we also invite people to our studio to sit down in an intimate little pod and tour the booth space. Or we're beaming someone in to an intimate group, 100 people at the Bellagio, or I don't know, somewhere in New York, at, you know, Brooklyn Bridge, and then you have cameras set up and you let people connect. I mean, we've already been doing it at trade shows with apps, and we're all chatting. So just kind of opening it up to the headset and the digital platform and live in person, figuring it out as we go and taking those risks, you know.
Makes a lot of sense. Aleissia, you were nodding your head there. Was there something else you wanted to add?
Sure. I feel like kind of the beginning days, especially on augmented reality and virtual reality, feels like early video games where game designers were trying to like overload the pad. Like to move forward, you had to hit like 10 buttons and mash, 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 and overload everything with inputs. And I feel like the beginning of augmented reality specifically is people are like, I could put visuals in the real world. Let's overwhelm the user and have like visuals, 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 which we've now learned, I think, is not a good thing. You don't want to overwhelm your user. You really want to have some balance. And I think that's where utilizing augmented reality, especially for things like location-based, bringing it to the real world, you can use different types of technologies. So whether sometimes you're using projection mapping, sometimes you're using maybe LED screens or different types of technologies, and you use the augmented reality aspects sparingly. Use it when it makes sense for the user.
Right.
So I feel like we're starting to learn a lot more of like best practices around that side. People are excited about it, but it doesn't mean that we need to be like flooding the user with all of this tech and visuals in their space.
And it often makes sense to be extremely focused about how you use these tools in order to deliver the data effectively and to make sure that everyone's having a high quality experience. If you're thinking about the complexities of AR in the city, for example, if you're trying to take escape room dynamics into a playable city environment, for example, every element adds a layer of data complexity that makes it very challenging for accessibility or for, let's say, a younger audience on a less advanced smartphone. So I just want to thank each of you for thinking about the inclusiveness of your engagements and how you design these activations for everyone. I have a very specific question. You said something that triggered an ongoing series of conversations we've been having about intimacy. And I think Altspace is a really interesting example of what's working in intimacy in terms of bringing people together. Could you speak to how you design for intimacy in virtual spaces, whether that's virtual festivals or art shows or other activations? Feel free to anyone can take that.
I mean, we start, by knowing your guests and, their demographics. And usually there's a brand and a mission and a goal. And we always just try to make it multi-sensory. So great food, chefs, and making people, laugh and feel and have games and, but I think the small group, this is a really intimate group where you can really have moments together, and it's not just you and them, it's everybody as a group.
I think when you talk about even breaking down the demographic, I also think we're all so neurodiverse, and I think we're all wired differently, and coming to a humble understanding of meeting different people where they're at, and knowing that there's a way to attract many people in an intimate way, just by texture of the human, then conveying that into using the technology, I think creates something that makes a very shared, but using the emotional quotient, I think, is key.
Yeah, we're really focused on design, artwork, where the sofa sits, that atmosphere that you walk into a really cool space. You can feel the music. The lighting is perfect. Something about those, that's where we've had success. Like people just feel at home and they want to hang out in this space. I think,
that makes a lot of sense and echoes the last 15 years of research that we've seen in terms of if you're in an environment that entrains you to maybe feel connected, and that can be a drum circle on a beach, you begin to have a synchronized experience that sticks with you. Holliday, did you have something else to add?
Yeah, so I had fun this summer creating one online festival for a weed farmers market. So it was basically an award ceremony for people who had the best bud, and so creating an environment for the intoxicated user was a little fun because when you think about it, most people design as if we're in real world scenario, right? So I thought, well, you don't need gravity. You can have your chairs and your sofas floating, and people can jump up into, floating things. Like it's like you just get to stretch yourself in creative ways so you're not limited to the real world. And then obviously the intimate notion where you feel more close to the person. You don't have to worry about, space, what do you call, the bubble or whatever. So that was one fun thing we put together. And then Comic-Con, we did an interactive space for Comic-Con. But that was mostly just a single user experience. So it's only two things that we've done so far.
I'm excited to see what we end up doing for some of these festivals this year, whether it's Comic-Con. I had a blast and streamed for nearly 100 hours during Burning Man this year across different metaverses. I know some of us became friends because of those events and festivals. So event-driven engagement strategies do make a lot of sense. And that, it doesn't matter what you're publishing or who your audience is. Generally, virtual events right now help you build your community faster than any other single strategy I can think of. I mean, obviously, there's lots of ways to get your audience and message and story together. But I wanted to ask, Holliday, you and we talked a little bit earlier about those art events, and when I do Future of XR panels, frequently people ask me about the crypto and NFT art markets because it is this booming space of potential for creators. And it's also something that most of us don't necessarily have a clear breakdown on what it is or how we engage with it. Could you tell us a little bit about your experience there?
Sure. First of all, by show of hands, how many people are interested in crypto as a investment opportunity? Got a couple people here. How many people are interested in making crypto art? Got a lot of people. How many people are making crypto art? Like, you can call yourself a crypto artist. Awesome. Got a whole group of people here. So you can see by a show of hands, there's a lot of people that are already involved. And I'm new to the scene. I can't call myself an expert by any means. I am listening to every podcast I can find, reading everything I possibly can find on it, because it's kind of a complicated genre. It's brand new. People are calling it the Wild Wild West because they're defining new ways of selling art. So basically, with crypto art, the technical version or meaning of that would be art that's related to crypto. Like, it looks like the Bitcoin logo or Ethereum. People are putting Ethereum logos into things. And then NFTs are non-fungible tokens, which are basically art pieces that are given a digital signature through monetization to have your piece out in digital space. And yes, I have a lot of friends that are making 20K in 5 seconds or something crazy. But the truth is that getting into crypto art is a lot harder than it actually appears to be. Like, I have been using computers for over 30 years, and it has been a test of will sometimes with some of these platforms, or connecting your wallet to your Bitcoin and all of this stuff. And most of the time I realize it's not me. They're just buggy systems because they're still trying to put it all together. So it is a fun arena. And like I mentioned earlier, people are starting to tokenize events. You can actually put 3D pieces with 2D pieces. One recent 3D artist tokenized a piece of art that he included his Spotify playlist that he included with his piece. So, people are getting really creative, and it's kind of like the new realm of, art galleries are great, but art galleries are going to take, 70% of a commission But if you're dealing with different crypto platforms, the artist is going to be making that 80%. So, it's an exciting arena. I don't know if I answered a question or I just
no,
rambled.
that's perfect. And well, you're speaking to two different trends here. There is
Right.
Creator-centered publishing models, which are working across the board to make sure that closer to 80% stays with the artist instead of, the other way around. And then there's this other side. I've been in blockchain a long time, and it's really only been in the last year that the art market side of this has really turned on in terms of buyers and sellers really finding each other. It's been nascent now for 4 or 5 years, but we're seeing huge opportunities to sell your own art direct. But I do think this is where the future of interoperability of our assets is also going. So if you're looking at how do we take our inventory of art and then take it from Altspace to VR chat to any other virtual world you may engage in, I would suspect that it's going to be a blockchain solution that emerges that fills that gap. What is most exciting for you? What is that big future vision that you're holding on to that you're like, I can't wait until we can do this?
My imagination is always with me, keeping me in trouble. But in the future, they keep talking about a 3D spatial web where our entire world will be 3D mapped, and you'll be able to put imagery over that. And you'll probably be able to create your own experiences, based on the overlapping reality you create. And like Aleissia said, it's very important not to overwhelm people. People are probably going to be like throwing their augmented reality glasses away because they're like, there's too much digital in the world. So there's a part of me that's worried about that. Like, what's the future of art? But at the same time, being able to create art that, I could even tokenize. I can say, go to this spot and you're going to experience some kind of art. That excites me. And then something else is fabrics and fashion. Where are they going to be in the future? Or jewelry, people will be able to have animated, beautiful jewelry. So I'm excited about what future creators are going to be doing, and they're already doing, which, there's so much mind-blowing art out there. Yeah, I'm just excited to see it all go forward.
Right?
Yeah. And right now it's like there's this collective hive of minds as we're creating it. We're all learning at an exponential rate. It's not like we're all, in a room working by ourselves. It's kind of like, everybody's, at least the art community that I'm in with all my virtual reality artists, we're, all that love. It's kind of like this, and then we paint in VR together too. So we'll go into paint and light strikes and we're all like in this crazy light painting together, just these ethereal, real virtual experiences. So we're together as a clan, we're together creating, we're together learning, and it's just this new, where's it going to go from here?
The collective, the power of the collective. I love that.
Yeah.
Does anyone else want to jump in on that?
Sure. Similar to what you're saying, I think what I've been wanting to see or build for years is kind of picture a Pokemon Go meets immersive experiences. So I could take a look and see, oh, hey, there's this LARPing session happening at the park down the street from me. Awesome. This is starting at 7 p.m. I can log into that. Or I see maybe on Saturday, there's a bunch of fellow artists who are going to be putting together an installation. I can either become part of it or I can be a participant to it. Maybe I just go by the park, see what's happening, and I can open up my app and maybe send some money to the artist saying, keep it up, this looks awesome. I want to really see so that I can know what's happening with creators and artists in the world around me. I can participate if I want. I can create my own events. Or I could just come and check it out, let other people know. So I know a lot of people are working on these different tools right now. I think we're getting to the point now where we can think of it as a global platform, from things like Roblox that are being built and what hopefully Niantic is pushing on those platforms. But I want to see them work with creators and artists so that we can really bring like experiences that are super interesting to these platforms and make it something that's really global.
And I think you're also speaking to something needed in terms of a platform cooperative, in terms of our open web engagement. So not just behind silos and in marketplaces, but also like PBS here in America functions as public media. We don't have a public commons yet. We have the open web. And so how we engage with the open web and how we partner, how we work together will define the future of that. Cheryl, did you have something you wanted to add to that?
Oh yeah, I was just yes-anding by saying that it's really the collective and accessibility. And the more that we are open to being accessible and collaborative, the more we'll be able to engage. And also, again, the purpose. Like, I love all that on fashion, it can be everywhere. Yet, if it's of purpose and people feel the need for it, it's also, that's more of in the driver's seat. And not just need, like, I have to have this, because games, we know, are something that we've loved and have to have. It just has to feel like you're a part of something bigger than yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Tricia,
Okay.
did you have anything to add?
That was pretty amazing. Well, I'm seeing like events all over the world and all of us having a good time in different locations. And we build out this beautiful stage design, and we all come together for an awesome event that is super meaningful and gives back to the world. And then we also build it as a digital twin in the virtual world. So there's people attending online, and then we have this awesome, physical event that is exactly the same as it is in the virtual world. And just continuing building out the metaverse and bringing people together and collaborating with. That's what inspires me, is just collaborating
right,
with others.
and seeing all of these different metaverses and worlds come together. If you think about how so many worlds are going to bloom. I mean, we've had 100 virtual worlds for over a decade now, but we are now in this other golden age of hybrid experiences where we can really connect the avatar to the physical self in a whole different way, and hopefully next year make those portable as well, so that we can take ourselves across as many worlds as possible. We're going to start taking questions, and I see that we've got some hands up.
Thank you so much for all of you being here. This is a phenomenal panel, and you guys have given us some great insights. I really, really appreciate it. Among many other things, I'm an XR evangelist, and I spend a lot of my time educating people about the industry and how to properly get their toes in the water, so to speak. I see a lot of people are siloed. They consider technology to be in one area, and it's kind of a does business and business things, and then they see creative space as this way to engage with people and activate their emotions. How do we appropriately bridge that gap for people, the broad populace, to get them from bringing just creative mindset over into technology, but also be good stewards of it to make sure that we're proactive and we're making the right choices and the right movement down that evolutionary path?
I think I'll just chime in. I think being sensitive to what's going on in the world. Like I said, different people are coming to different places at different moments in their life, and understanding that that's actually a real thing, and dealing with that real thing, then using the technology. It's how we then connect and utilize the communication that we get from those, that we can be supportive tools as opposed to not supportive tools.
I'm not sure if I'm answering your question exactly here, but so from the creative side, I find one, with everything that's happened in the last year, I'm getting a lot of my friends who are on the art side, or even like, let's say from brands, etc., who are like, what is all this new technology? Like, everyone's at home, and like they kind of like are realizing that they have to learn like a lot more about XR. So that's one good thing. But then I have a lot of like more people on the creative side who will be like, do I have to get a VR kit? Like, I don't want to like spend money on this, or like augmented reality, WTF, this is crazy expensive, like HMDs. So I feel like even looking back a year ago, WebXR is something that I'm seeing really progressing a lot in the last year, where there weren't so many tools around that. In the last I don't know if it's a year or more, but we're seeing things like Eighth Wall, Zap by AR, different platforms for WebXR. I feel like maybe that's a really good like stepping stone to get more creatives and
Huge.
artists into this XR space.
Huge.
And it's grown so much even just in the last 6 months. So hopefully that is an easy way to get in as things like hardware, peripherals, etc., become more accessible to the greater creative population.
Absolutely.
And I think, oh, go ahead.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I was going to chime in and just say, I've always kind of considered myself a technical artist because I do realize you need those technical skills rather than, I don't want to say just painting because there's a place for everything in any genre. But the people that do have the technical skills as artists are leading the way, trying to help other artists understand what's expected of them if they want to be an animator or whatever. So the experience I have, I'm just trying to get it out there as much as possible, whether it's teaching a course or just being a leader, having shows like we had the XR art show. I kind of will mention that for a second, where we had 20 global artists contributing and everybody learned during that process. But yeah, nowadays, like I spent 10 years making video games, but if I look at an animation job, I need like 10 other programs I'm supposed to know, like something really crazy. So artists are really expected to learn some technical skills if you want to be in, either making VR or, creating your own AR apps or whatever. There is kind of a learning curve. But luckily, there's such a great community for people to learn online through tutorials or whatever. And I think artists are kind of crossing over. Programmers make me mad that they could just program art in 5 seconds, and it's just like, what the heck? So in terms of art, programmers being creative, you don't have to worry about that, but artists definitely have to step up their skills. There's lots of groups. I run one that's learning AR and VR in Unity, so trying to kind of lead the way that way. But
Right. And you're speaking to a challenge that many producers and creators and curators have, that you might have 50 or 100 artists who are physically capable artists, like with the Burning Man exhibits, who have never worked in this media before. So then you're porting over, you're bringing things into Blender, or you're trying to figure out how to make them more accessible for these environments. So it's always an adventure and figuring out how to bridge those gaps. You had said something about emotion, and to answer that question, I think it's closely tied. Specifically, our emotional connection is tied to the embodiment, and so you can give people different choices about embodiment in the story and the world, and that is going to change their perspective. All of the choices you give them, but especially the choice of embodiment, changes that relationship. If any of you on the panel here, could you tell us where to find you in terms of your work, and where we can look you up and maybe follow you, whether it's on social media or elsewhere?
Sure. Mine's pretty easy because my first name is spelled really weirdly. So I'm just at Aleissia on pretty much every social media platform. My website's aleissia.com. So that's it.
I'm active on LinkedIn, Tricia Costello, and on Instagram at Fresh Wata. And also FWS Studio is our venue location and production studio. So Fresh Wata on Instagram.
I'm active on LinkedIn as well, Holliday Horton, and also I have hollidayrhorton.com, my own website, and then holiday.artist on Instagram. And I'm happy to answer any further questions.
I'm Cheryl at Living Popups, and it's livingpopups.com, so it's Cheryl at livingpopups.com.
Excellent. And I'm Evo at Playable Agency. I specifically focus on how all of these virtual events fit together with the between the physical and the virtual. And I also do quite a bit of virtual production on features as well. Thanks for joining us, everyone. And we're just going to sign off. And
thank you, Evo.
We hope that you will continue building these beautiful experiences and telling us all about what you're working on. There are WebXR awards coming up, and Aleissia, thank you for speaking to that. There's awards coming up tonight, though, for our DreamlandXR, and we hope that you will continue to partner up and tell us all about the amazing things you're working on. Have a great night, everybody.